Chapter 1.
Lila.
I was halfway through icing a tray of gingerbread stars when my phone rang. At first, I didn't recognize the number. This wasn't unusual. December brought new customers every hour. I wiped my hands on my apron and answered on the third ring, already rehearsing the usual. We open at 7, yes, we do Christmas cakes, no, we don't deliver outside Zone 3, but it wasn't a customer. It was Mrs. Callahan, my grandmother's neighbor. And the moment she said my name, her voice unsteady, the world tilted. Lila, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. It's your gran. She passed this morning. The piping bag slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. My grandmother, the woman who raised me, was gone. Gran had opened her heart and her cottage to a 5-year-old orphan without hesitation. And I had repaid her by running away and never looking back. Now she was gone. What do you mean? I managed. She went peacefully, Mrs. Callahan said. In her sleep. No pain. The doctor thinks it was her heart. Something inside me fractured. I thanked her, I think, and ended the call. The bakery suddenly felt too bright, too loud, too full of Christmas music and customers who had no idea that my world had just split in half. I stepped into the back room, leaned against the stainless steel counter, and let the shock settle under my skin like frost. Gran was gone. By the time I picked up Junior from school, I had pulled myself together, barely. He climbed into the passenger seat, talking a mile a minute about the school play rehearsals and how his friend Malik had slipped on ice and did the funniest accidental split in the world. I forced a smile. Sounds like quite a day. He looked up at me, frowning. Mum? Are you okay? His eyes, wide and warm, one brown and the other blue, locked onto mine. My baby with hereditary heterochromia. Every time he looked at me like that, my heart stumbled. He was looking more and more like his father. My first love. My biggest heartbreak. Before this. I'm okay, I said gently. But I need to tell you something important. Junior straightened, instantly serious. What happened? Gran passed away this morning. He froze. Junior had met Gran when he was 3, and they had been close. I immediately regretted telling him while driving. I couldn't even pull him into a hug. I'm sorry, Mum, he said after a moment. Guilt pressed hard against my chest. I'm sorry too, sweetie. My voice wavered. I reached for his hand and squeezed it. We have to go to Danube, I said. Just for a few days. Because that was the plan. Go home. Settle the estate. Sign whatever papers needed signing. Then get back to London, back to the bakery, back to normal, back to the life I had built brick by brick, recipe by recipe, tier by tier. But as I drove us home, something tightened inside my chest. Something like dread. I hadn't planned on visiting Danube anytime soon, but fate clearly had other ideas. Danube wasn't just my childhood hometown. It was where I'd fallen in love. And where everything had fallen apart. 3 days later, Junior and I were driving through the winding snow-covered roads of South Ayr. I had rented a car in Glasgow. The closer we got, the more memories rose out of the trees and chimneys and twinkling porch lights. It felt like driving into a snow globe I had once lived inside. Junior pressed his face to the window. It's so pretty. Like a movie. All the houses have Christmas lights in the garden. It's always been like this, I said quietly. Especially at Christmas. He grinned. Did you like Christmas here? Christmas in Danube had been magic. I did, I said. A lot. When the ocean finally appeared, dark, still, endless, my breath caught. And then, just beyond it, Gran's house. My childhood home. We pulled into the driveway, facing the little cottage with navy shutters and a front porch decorated with the same tired wreath she'd had for 20 years. There was also a family of acrylic deer lighting up the front porch. My chest tightened. Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon. Of course it did. Gran always baked this time of year. Even thinking about it made my throat burn. We spent a couple of hours preparing and eating dinner. We reheated one of the lasagnas from Gran's freezer, reminiscing about all the Christmases she'd spent with us in London. She'd always complained about the city noise but still came, until this year. This year, she had insisted we come to her instead. I told her I was too busy during the festive season, which was true, but the deeper truth was that I wasn't ready to face my past. Now Gran was gone. After putting Junior to bed in the guest room, I spent hours sorting through old boxes. Every photo, every recipe card, every knitted tea cozy felt like a piece of my childhood being pressed into my hands. Around midnight, exhaustion finally claimed me. I woke at 6 as usual and stepped outside for air. The morning was cold enough to sting, snow falling in slow, lazy spirals beneath street lamps that hadn't yet switched off. I wrapped my coat tighter and walked toward the beach. That, besides Gran, was what I had missed most after moving to London. That was when I saw him. He was jogging along the coastal path, breath clouding in the air. Taller than I remembered. Broader. His dark hair a little longer, curling at the nape of his neck. Evan Hart. My first love. My heartbreak. My breath caught. He was running straight toward me. Too late to duck away. Too late to pretend I hadn't seen him. His eyes met mine. Recognition spread across his face in stages, surprise, disbelief, something softer beneath it. "Lila," he said, slowing to a stop. "Is that really you?" My heart slammed against my ribs. After 10 years, he was still the man who had held me under the stars behind the football field. The man who had kissed me like I was the only girl in the world. The man who had made love to me the night he came home from university, and who had left the next morning without a goodbye, without a reason, without a trace. I swallowed. "Hi, Evan." He smiled, and something inside me gave way. "Wow. I can't believe it. You're really here." He shook his head. "When did you get back?" "I'm just in town for a few days," I said quickly. "To settle my grandma's estate." "Oh." His expression softened. "I'm so sorry, Lila. She was a wonderful woman." I nodded. "Yeah, she was." A moment stretched between us, heavy, full of things neither of us dared say. "It's really good to see you," he said. I smiled, even as fear curled in my chest. "You too." Because it wasn't good. It was terrifying. "Anyway, see you around," I said, stepping past him and continuing down the path. I could feel his gaze on my back as I walked away, head held high. I could not let him get close. Not now. Not ever. Not when I was carrying a 10-year-old secret that could shatter everything. Chapter 2.
Evan.
I wake before my alarm again. The army drills that into you, like muscle memory you never asked for. As a teenager, 6 a.m. was basically still night. I never surfaced before noon unless it was a school day. I carried that habit straight through high school and university. Now? My body snaps awake long before it actually needs to. I rub a hand over my face, stretch, and listen to the quiet of my little cottage. The coffee maker clicks on. The heating hums to life. I'll come back to warmth and a fresh cup waiting. Another day. Another jog along the coast to clear my head. Except nothing, absolutely nothing, has prepared me for who is waiting out there this morning. The cold bites at my lungs as soon as I start running. It feels good. Sharp. Grounding. The sun is only just considering rising, painting the sky in that washed-out gray-blue that always reminds me of Danube, no matter where I am in the world. I've traveled plenty. I served as a Royal Marine, a career cut short by injury, but Danube has always been home. This path especially. I know every bend by heart. Where the wind hits hardest. Where the rocks jut past the shoreline. Where her grand's cottage comes into view when I turn inland. I used to run this path and imagine Lila standing somewhere along it. Waiting. Smiling. Forgiving. But she never did. Eventually, I stopped expecting to see her. Stopped letting myself hope. So when a figure appears ahead of me, dark coat, curly hair, shoulders hunched against the cold, my mind doesn't even consider it could be her. Not until she lifts her head. Not until her face comes into focus, the face that has haunted my dreams for a decade. Lila Bennett. My Lila. Except she isn't mine. Not anymore. My steps slow without intention. My lungs forget how to work. The world tilts in one long, stunned heartbeat. She looks older. Stronger. Time has been unbelievably kind to her. She is still breathtaking. Her curls are tied back, and there's a tiredness beneath her eyes I've never seen before. But she's still her. Still the girl who kissed me like she believed in forever. Still the girl I never stopped looking for, even when I told myself to let her go. Lila. Her name leaves me like I've been holding it inside for years. She turns, and there it is, that same jolt I used to feel every time she smiled at me in the school hallway. Except now she isn't smiling. She's guarded, stiff, ready to run. My chest tightens. Is that really you? I ask, stepping closer despite myself. She swallows. Hi, Evan. God. Her voice. 10 years, and my body reacts like not even a day has passed. Wow. I can't believe it, I say, shaking my head as cold air fogs between us. You're really here. When did you get back? I'm just in town for a few days, she says quickly. To settle my grandma's estate. Too quickly. Danu is small. News travels fast. I'd heard that Gran had passed. But even knowing that, I hadn't let myself believe Lila would actually return. I'm so sorry, I say. She was a wonderful woman. And she was. Kind. Sharp-tongued. Feisty enough to put the fear of God into any teenage boy. She insisted I call her Gran, or else. Except for that one day, 10 years ago, when she hadn't been kind at all. Lila nods, looking away. Yeah, she was. Silence stretches between us. Thick. Heavy. Too familiar. I want to ask where she's been. Why she never came back. If she's happy. If she ever forgave me. But the way she holds herself, tight shoulders, clenched jaw, tells me those questions won't land well right now. It's really good to see you, I say. She gives me a polite smile. It doesn't reach her eyes. You too. I hear the lie immediately. I feel it. Once upon a time, she never lied to me. Before I can decide whether to push or stay silent, she steps sideways. Anyway, see you around. And she walks away. Just like that. Like she wasn't once the girl who promised me forever under a sky exploding with fireworks. Like we didn't know each other in the truest, rawest sense a man can know a woman. I watch her go, each step carving something open and old inside me. She's different. Distant. Cold. Harder around the edges. Tired. I want to stop her. I want to pull her into the hug I've replayed in my mind for more than a decade. I want to know what her life looks like now, what broke her, what built her, who she became without me. But I just stand there in the snow, frozen. A lot of time has passed. Too much. What could possibly bridge that gap? 10 years without a trace of her, and now she's here, in Danu, for Christmas of all times. What timing. What madness. What fate. As her footsteps fade into the quiet morning, one thought settles deep and immovable in my chest. I have to see her again. Talk to her again. Try again. Because this time, I'm not losing her. Chapter 3.
Lila.
After seeing Evan that morning, I felt like barricading myself inside the cottage for the rest of my stay. I wasn't emotionally stable enough to risk running into him twice in one day, or even once again in this lifetime, if I had my way. But grief paperwork waits for no woman. I had to meet the lawyer about Gran's estate. After feeding Junior breakfast, we walked briskly to Mr. Ferguson's office. He ushered us in the moment we arrived. I left Junior with the receptionist, who produced a mountain of Lego pieces like some kind of childcare magician. By the time I left the office, I was utterly confused. First, the funeral date was set for the 27th of December. A decent time, after Christmas festivities but before New Year's chaos. Then came the inheritance. Gran had left me the cottage. And a sizable nest egg. No other relatives to share it with. But there was a catch. I had to live in the cottage for 6 consecutive months before it could legally become mine. If I didn't, the house would be sold and everything donated to charity. 6 months. In Danu. With a business and a life in London. What on earth had Gran been thinking? I collected Junior, walked home in a daze, and proceeded to do the following: make tea I didn't drink. Clean counters that were already spotless. Reorganize Gran's spice cabinet even though everything was alphabetized, naturally. I wasn't avoiding thinking. I was avoiding feeling. Which, of course, meant I was feeling everything all at once. Had Gran lost her marbles? No, Mr. Ferguson had assured me she was fully competent when she added that condition. When I wasn't puzzling over Gran, my thoughts circled the same place they'd been circling all morning. Evan. He had disappeared. That truth wrapped around my ribs like barbed wire. After our night together, a night I had naively believed meant something, he vanished. Left before sunrise. No note. No call. No explanation. And then I found out I was pregnant. I couldn't bring shame to Gran after everything she'd done for me, so I saved £500 that summer, caught a bus to Glasgow, then a 12-hour coach to London Victoria. I never looked back. 3 months later, he returned. Gran told me the story years later. He had shown up at the house looking for me. But I was already gone, already trying to build a life for Junior and me, already running from heartbreak and humiliation and fear. Gran told him I didn't live there anymore. What did he say? I had asked. He asked where you'd gone, she had replied, eyes flashing. I told him his guess was as good as mine, and that I blamed him for driving you away. Then I told him not to darken my doorstep again. Even though I never told her what happened, she had understood enough to be furious on my behalf. Sometimes I blamed him too. Sometimes I blamed myself more. And now he was here, jogging along the coastline like he hadn't shattered my world, smiling at me like he hadn't taken my heart and crushed it. Gran must have known he was back in Danube. So why would she force this 6-month condition? She knew I didn't want him to know about Junior. I pressed my fingertips to my temples. I needed to stay away from him. For my sanity. For my heart. For Junior. Especially for Junior. But Danube is small. Too small. And fate is cruel. I had just finished cleaning the cottage top to bottom, again, when someone banged on the door with the dramatic urgency of a woman who clearly meant business. Lila Bennett, open this door before I freeze my ankles off. I barely cracked the door before Mrs. Callahan bustled inside, brushing snow from her coat like she owned the place. You've been here less than 24 hours and already hiding? Absolutely not. The Christmas market is this weekend, and we need someone to run Nora's stall. I blinked. Gran's stall. Her expression softened. She never missed a year. She told me you were coming to help her this time. My heart squeezed. Of course she did. She sold mince pies, I said quietly. And shortbread, gingerbread, everything, and her jams. Lord, I lived for Nora's goodies every December. Mrs. Callahan closed her eyes briefly, as if reliving a religious experience. Then she snapped them open and pointed at me. And you're a baker. A brilliant one, according to Nora. I flushed. I can't. I'm only here to sort the estate. Nonsense. You'll be here a few days at least, and we need your talent. Half the town counts on Nora's stall. It won't feel like Christmas without it. Guilt sank its teeth in. Gran would have wanted this. Gran would have expected this. I don't even have ingredients, I argued. Pure havers. Nora's pantry is always stocked for Christmas. Don't fib. She had me there. Mrs. Callahan, I began, but she cut me off with a single raised finger. Evan is coordinating the vendor list, she added casually, detonating the emotional bomb she absolutely meant to drop. He'll likely want to meet with you to finalize your stall. My stomach dropped. Absolutely not. She paused mid-buttoning her coat. What do you mean not? I'm not working with Evan Hart. She narrowed her eyes, the nosy neighbor stare that said she remembered every detail of our teenage romance, including the heart shapes we once drew in the sand. Well, she huffed, the market needs you. And Nora would haunt me if her stall sat empty. She had played the Gran card. There was no recovering from that. Fine, I muttered. I'll bake. Mrs. Callahan beamed, kissed my cheek, and marched out triumphantly as if she'd just saved Christmas single-handedly. I leaned back against the closed door, exhaling slowly. Gran's stall. Gran's recipes. Gran's town. All of it now came with one unavoidable complication. Evan. He would be at the community hall. He would be organizing vendors. He would see my name on the list. Our next meeting would not be accidental. I pressed a hand to my sternum, trying to steady the ache there. He had left me once. No explanation. No apology until years too late. But anger is always loudest when it's protecting old love. And I hated, truly hated, that I still felt anything at all. For Gran's sake. For the town's sake. And despite every warning bell in my body, I would face him. But I would not let him close. I had a son to protect. I had a heart to guard. I had rebuilt my life. He had a son. And he had no idea. Chapter 4.
Evan.
I spent the better part of the morning pretending I wasn't waiting to see her again. I spoke to vendors who needed extra bits for their stalls and arranged deliveries to the community center. I fixed a couple of dodgy light fixtures and helped move furniture around. All the while, my eyes kept drifting to the door, hoping stupidly for a glimpse of Lila. After seeing her yesterday on the coastal path, after having her close enough to touch for the first time in 10 years, something inside me hadn't settled. My entire chest felt off balance. I tried to distract myself. I tried to write. My agent was already impatient for the next book, but I couldn't even get through a single chapter. Sometimes I still couldn't believe writing had become a career. After the Marines, I came back to Danube to rest and heal. I wrote a mystery novel to pass the time and discovered I actually loved it. I published under a pen name, and people went mad for the series. Even now, no one in Danube knew it was me. The anonymity was nice. Comforting, even. The community hall door opened again, and I glanced over, only to be disappointed. I was being pathetic. I knew that. But 10 years changes you, and seeing her again had shaken loose things I thought I'd buried. Then I turned. And she was there. My breath caught so hard I actually forgot to inhale. She paused in the doorway, taking in the whole the way only someone returning home after years away would, quiet, cautious, as if even the air needed to be handled gently. She held a small tote bag in front of her like a shield, as though she didn't want anyone stepping too close. Lila, I said, before my brain caught up with my mouth. She stiffened. Then she turned. Slow. Reluctant. Braced. Her eyes met mine. My heart did a full somersault. Oh, she said. You're here. She sounded disappointed. I swallowed and kept my voice steady. Just sorting vendor placements. You, checking out the stall? Yes. She lifted her chin, businesslike. I want to set up and see what else I'll need to bring before Saturday. I nodded and stepped back, giving her space, though every part of me wanted to move closer. She walked to the far corner of Hall B, Gran's corner, and placed her bag on one of the 2 tables arranged for her. She shifted them into a neat right angle, then pulled out a familiar gingham cloth. Gran's gingham cloth. The sight brought so many memories of Christmas past. She draped the fabric over the table, smoothing the corners, then removed fairy lights and a small garland from her tote. She threaded them around the wooden sign that read simply, Nora's. Her fingers moved with practiced confidence. She hummed softly as she worked. She looked like she belonged there. Like she always had. And something inside me cracked. I could give you a hand, I offered, aiming for casual. She didn't even glance at me. No thanks. I've got it. You always liked helping Gran at her stall, I said before I could stop myself. I remember you trying to nick shortbread for me behind her back. She paused. Only for a fraction of a second. But I saw it. She didn't correct me. Didn't tease me. Didn't smile like she used to. Instead she said quietly, firmly, that was a long time ago, Evan. The unspoken message settled between us. We're not the same people. Don't pretend you still know me. I swallowed. Right. For a while, the only sounds were the buzz of the overhead heaters and the soft shuffle of her arranging the lights. How long have you been back? She asked suddenly, still not looking at me. 4 years, I said. This is my 3rd year coordinating the Christmas market. I helped Gran the last 2. She said she needed an extra pair of hands, but I let out a breath. I think she mostly wanted someone she could fuss over. A tiny twitch pulled at her mouth. Almost a smile. She never told me you 2 were in contact, I said before I could stop myself. Her entire body went rigid. Too far. She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled something else from her tote, small wooden display cubes. At this point, I wondered if the bag was a TARDIS. Once upon a time, we loved watching Doctor Who together. But she didn't look like she wanted to remember that. I should go, she said quietly, gathering her things. Lila, I have baking and cooking to do at the house, she cut in. I'll finish the stall later. She brushed past me, leaving behind the faint scent of vanilla and cold air. And I just stood there, useless, watching her leave again. Did she really hate me that much? Would she ever let me explain? I didn't know. But I knew this. Fate didn't bring her back for nothing. Not this time. Not like this. And I wasn't giving up. Not again. Not ever. This time, I wasn't going anywhere. Chapter 5.
Lila.
I woke up early on Friday, bright-eyed but restless. I didn't walk to the beach. I told myself I was too busy, but the truth was simpler. I was avoiding Evan. Instead, I spent the morning mixing dough, kneading dough, and rolling dough. I had finished all the gingerbread the day before, and thankfully Gran had already made batches of her jams. So I only had shortbread to make. By the time afternoon rolled in, I had convinced myself I could handle being in the community hall again. It wasn't like Evan would be there every second. He had vendors to manage, volunteers to coordinate, and a whole market to oversee. Surely he would be busy elsewhere. I walked into Holby carrying a bag of decorations and a bundle of unused red ribbons. The hall was quieter today, with only a few people milling around while folding brochures. Perfect. I set my tote on the table and straightened the tartan cloth, smoothing the corners exactly the way Gran liked them. Working in her kitchen, using her ingredients, and breathing in her spices had made me feel closer to her. I had cried more times than I wanted to admit. I left Junior with Mrs. Callahan, with strict instructions that his phone was for emergencies only. The busy work kept my mind from spiraling into places I didn't want it to go. Evan's face when he saw me yesterday. The confusion there. The hurt I refused to acknowledge. Focus. Stay busy. Keep distance. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. An Instagram notification. I ignored it and set the phone on the table beside me. I hung the fairy lights along the edge of the stall. I arranged Gran's old recipe books. I adjusted the ribbons for symmetry. Then I took a step back, assessing the layout. I was so lost in thought that I didn't hear him approach. Looks great. His voice slid over me like warm air. I looked up sharply. He stood a few feet away, hands in his jacket pockets, watching me with a cautious sort of admiration, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to look at me directly. Thanks, I said lightly, though my heart was doing Olympic-level gymnastics. It's coming together. You kept the tartan, he said, nodding at the cloth. It was Gran's. She'd like that. My throat tightened, and I blinked hard. He stepped closer, slow and deliberate, leaving enough distance that I could move away if I wanted. I didn't move. It was probably a mistake. I know you're angry with me, he said softly. And I don't blame you. My fingers stilled on the ribbon I was tying. I'm not doing this, I whispered. Not now. I'm not asking for anything, he said. I just want an opportunity to talk. What's the point in bringing up old stories? I asked, staring at anything but him. The past is better left where it belongs. I disagree, he began. He never finished. My phone rang. Loud. Clear. Right beside him on the table. We both turned. And because fate is cruel, the phone lay screen up. Junior's face filled the display. Smiling wide. Wearing last year's Christmas jumper. Curls everywhere. One brown eye. One blue. Saved under the contact name My Baby. Evan froze. A stillness settled so sharply it felt like the air cracked around us. He stared at the screen. At my son. At our son. The heterochromia gave everything away. A trait I had tried desperately to hide. A trait Junior shared with his father. When he finally spoke, his voice was hoarse and shaking. Lila. Who is that? My pulse roared in my ears. I lunged for the phone, grabbing it too fast and clutching it to my chest. It's private, I said breathlessly. I turned away before he could say anything else and answered the call with trembling fingers. Junior wanted to know if he could go to the beach with Mrs. Callahan's grandsons. After confirming a responsible adult was present, I told him yes and ended the call. Then, with dread pooling in my stomach, I turned back. Evan hadn't moved. He stood completely still, carved from shock rather than stone. That's a child, he whispered. Your child. My lungs tightened. He stepped closer, not in anger, but in bewilderment. He swallowed hard. He looks just like me. Oh, Evan, I whispered. Please don't say it. He flinched, like I had struck him. Silence folded around us, heavy and unsteady. Then, barely audible, he asked, Lila, is he mine? Tears stung my eyes. I couldn't run this time. I couldn't hide. I couldn't lie. All I could do was whisper yes. And watch the man I once loved shatter right in front of me. Chapter 6.
Evan.
I didn't feel the cold. I didn't feel the floor beneath my feet. I didn't feel anything except the shattering inside my chest. Lila's yes kept echoing in my head on a loop. Yes. 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 Her son. Her child. Her boy with the curls and the mismatched eyes and the smile that looked exactly like mine at 10 years old. My son. I didn't move for several seconds. Or minutes. I couldn't tell. Time jammed like a broken clock. Everything inside me stalled, scraped, restarted, then stalled again. Lila, my voice sounded wrong. Not like mine. Why didn't you tell me? She took a tiny step back, clutching the phone to her chest like she was shielding him from me. I couldn't, she whispered. My pulse thudded painfully against my ribs. You couldn't? Or you wouldn't? Her eyes flashed. Hurt, fear, fury, grief tangled together in one impossible expression. Don't do that, she said sharply. Don't act like you weren't the one who left. I didn't, my voice cracked. I swallowed hard and tried again. I didn't leave because I wanted to. She let out a short, humorless laugh. You didn't even say goodbye. Her words cut straight through me. And I deserved every bit of it. I know, I whispered. God, Lila, I know. I've regretted that every single day for 10 years. But she shook her head, jaw trembling with restraint. Save it. This isn't about us. This is about Junior. Junior. Why Junior? I blurted, as if that mattered more than anything else. His first name is Evan, she said softly. Junior is his middle name. The name hit me like a physical blow. My vision blurred. How old is he? I asked, barely breathing. 10. 10. My knees almost buckled. 10 years of scraped knees, bedtime stories, loose teeth, first school days. 10 birthdays. 10 Christmases. 10 summers. 10 years of a life I wasn't part of. 10 years stolen by circumstance, pride, fear, and silence. From both of us. He's 10, I repeated numbly. So he was born, what, your first year of uni? I didn't go to uni, she whispered. My eyes closed. My heart actually hurt. A real, physical ache. When I opened them again, she was still there. Trembling. Small. Bracing herself like she expected me to explode. I was angry. But not at her. At myself. At everything I couldn't undo. She was brilliant. Gifted. She'd wanted to be a scientist. She should have been in a top university, not struggling alone because of the mess I left behind. Lila, I said, my voice breaking, why didn't you call me? Her chin lifted, stubborn and wounded. I tried. I looked everywhere for you. You weren't in Danu. Your mum didn't answer. I thought you were avoiding me. God. My stomach twisted. And suddenly I remembered where we were. In a hall full of people, some already looking at us with avid attention. This isn't the place for this, I said gently. Her eyes shuddered immediately, convinced I was avoiding the topic again, just like 10 years ago. Please, I said quickly. Hear me out. Can we talk later? I want to explain everything. Whatever, Evan. You do you. She turned and strode out of the hall. The third time she'd walked away from me. Not this time. I pushed after her, catching up as she reached the main road. Lila, stop. She didn't. So I walked beside her and gave her my truth, something I should have done that morning, 10 years ago. My mum. I rubbed a shaky hand over my face. Lila, she wasn't answering because she couldn't. She was in the hospital. I was with her. She froze mid-stride, confusion flickering across her face. "Let's sit," I said softly, gesturing to a rocky ledge down the slope. "The road's too narrow for this." We sat, snow crunching beneath us. "When I left that morning," I said quietly, "I went to shower and grab you breakfast from the cafe. But my phone was full of missed calls from her. Voice notes. Crying." Lila's eyes widened, the anger slowly draining away. "Her boyfriend hurt her," I continued. "I had to get her out before he came back. She needed surgery. Police interviews. A safe place to stay. I didn't think. I just went." Her breath caught, and something inside her softened. "I didn't want you anywhere near that mess," I said, my voice rough. "I was ashamed. I didn't know how to tell you. And by the time I came back, you were gone." She looked away, blinking fast. "I left because I thought you didn't want me," she whispered. "You disappeared before I even woke up." "I only left to shower and get you breakfast," I said helplessly. Then I saw the calls. Everything changed in minutes. I thought I'd explain it all to you later, but I didn't realize it would be 3 months before I returned. Silence settled. Raw. Fragile. Honest. "When I came back," I said, "I went straight to your gran. I begged her to tell me where you were. I hung around her gate, hoping I could catch a glimpse of you, until she threatened to call the police." I looked away, the torment of those weeks feeling fresh again. When I realized Lila was truly gone and no one knew where she was, my heart shattered. "Gran didn't know," Lila murmured. "Not until Junior was 3. "And when she did know?" I asked gently. "I made her promise not to tell anyone," she whispered. "I wasn't ready. I was scared. I was alone. I didn't want anyone in Danu judging me. Especially not you." Something cracked open inside me. "Judge you?" I stepped closer, slowly. Close enough for her to step back if she wanted. "Lila," I said softly, "you had a child alone. You raised him alone. You built a life for him. He looks healthy and happy and loved. How could I ever judge you for that?" Her lips trembled. Her eyes shone. She looked like she was melting and fighting it at the same time. Then she whispered, broken and small, "I thought you didn't want me." I exhaled shakily. "I thought I'd lost you forever." Her throat bobbed. Neither of us spoke. The snow fell gently around us. Finally, I dragged in a breath that felt like swallowing glass. "Lila," I said softly, "I need to meet him." Her eyes closed as a single tear slipped down. "I know," she whispered. "But slowly. Please." I nodded without hesitation. "Whatever pace you choose. I'll follow it." She looked up at me. Not angry. Not guarded. Just heartbroken. And maybe a little relieved. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Neither do I said gently. "But we'll learn. For Junior." Her breath hitched. And in that moment, with fairy lights glowing faintly through the hall windows behind us, pine on the breeze, and snow brushing our coats, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I had lost 10 years with Lila and my son. But I wasn't losing another minute. Not if I had anything to say about it. Chapter 7.
Lila.
I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. I lay in Gran's bed, the same bed she used to pull me into after nightmares, thunderstorms, scraped knees, and heartbreaks, staring at the ceiling as the past 10 years rewrote themselves in my mind. Everything Evan told me circled again and again, sharp as broken glass. He didn't leave me. He left because his mother was in danger. He came back. He looked for me. Gran truly didn't know where I was. He never knew about Junior. He wanted me. He wanted us. Too much. It was all too much. But the most painful truth, the one that lodged itself behind my ribs, was this: I had built 10 years of anger on a misunderstanding. I pressed my palms over my eyes and exhaled shakily. 10 years of avoiding him. 10 years of raising a child alone. 10 years of believing he didn't care. And when he'd seen Junior's picture earlier, the devastation in his eyes, the heartbreak, the shock, the grief was real. Not performed. Not exaggerated. Real. He hadn't been angry. He hadn't blamed me. He had just broken. By sunrise, I felt wrung out, bruised from the inside, but still somehow breathing. At 8, Junior wandered into the room with messy curls sticking up in every direction, pajamas twisted, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Mum," he mumbled. "I'm hungry." "Are you now?" I whispered. "Come here." He climbed into the bed and curled against me, warm and smelling faintly of cocoa butter and that irreplaceable little boy innocence. I held him a little too tightly. He pulled back and frowned. "You look like you cried." A watery laugh escaped me. This child sees far too much. "A little," I admitted. "Was it about Gran?" "Yes," I whispered. He studied me with those mismatched eyes, one brown, one blue. Evan's eyes. My pulse fluttered with nerves. "Junior," I began carefully. "Can I ask you something?" "Yeah." "How do you feel about meeting new people?" He blinked. "Like friends?" "Not exactly." He scrunched his nose. "Like your work friends?" No, my throat tightened. "Like someone from my past." He paused. "Is it a boy you like?" I nearly choked. "Why would you think that?" "Ethan's mum has a boyfriend," he said, lifting one shoulder, as if that explained everything. "So, is it a boy?" "A boy. If only it were that simple." "It's someone important," I said softly. "Someone who knew me a long time ago." He nodded thoughtfully, then yawned. "Okay. If they're important to you, I can meet them." My heart squeezed. He didn't understand. Not yet. He didn't know what this meant, for him, for me, for a man who had unknowingly missed a decade of fatherhood. By 10 to 9, we were out the door and driving to the hall. I needed the car. The trays of baked goods, jars of jam, and display items would have snapped my arms off otherwise. Helpers greeted me the moment I arrived. Together we unpacked, arranged trays, and set up the last touches to the stall. I felt Gran's presence everywhere. It was in the eyes all the people who knew and loved her. They gave their condolences and said how fitting it was that I had continued with Nora's stall. Evan was nowhere in sight for most of the morning. Somehow, that made it easier. The festive atmosphere wrapped around me. Carols played. Children laughed. Lights twinkled. And one by one, everything I baked sold out. Gran's jams, too. Junior was the perfect assistant, refilling trays, chatting to customers, charming old ladies with his smile. For a brief moment, I felt normal. At peace. It was around midday when I felt Evan's presence before I even saw him. "Looks like you're almost cleaned out," Evan said. I turned. There he was, smiling that devilish smile that always did far too much to my insides. "Were you skiving?" I shot back. "No," Evan said lightly. "Just making sure everything's running smoothly. Besides," he winked, "I've hung around your stall more than anyone else's." I betrayed myself with a smile. His joy was infectious. He looked lighter, unburdened. Then his expression softened. "Is he here?" Evan asked quietly. "Yeah. He just went to the toilet." Evan nodded, swallowed, then said, "Can I come around at 4? To meet him?" My heart flipped. I nodded before I could talk myself out of it. It was inevitable. They had to meet. Evan smiled, grateful, gentle, and disappeared back into the crowd. I sold out completely by early afternoon. Everything I baked. Every jam Gran left. Closing the stall for the last time was bittersweet. I rounded up Junior and drove us home. At exactly 4 o'clock, a knock sounded at the door. "Evan." My pulse hammered. Junior looked up from the kitchen table, pencil poised mid-air. "Are you expecting someone?" I swallowed. "Yes." He blinked. "The important person?" "Yes." Before I could lose my nerve, I walked to the door and opened it. Evan stood on the step, hands shoved deep in his coat pockets, snow dusting his dark hair, breath fogging in the cold. He looked nervous, almost terrified, but determined. "Hi," Evan said softly. "Hi," I whispered back and took his coat to hang behind the door. His eyes softened with something raw and grateful. "Thank you for letting me come." I nodded, unable to form words. "Come in." Evan stepped inside slowly, reverently, taking in the walls lined with Gran's photos. Then he looked toward the kitchen doorway. Junior stood there, pencil in hand, head tilted, studying him with open curiosity. Evan froze. My heart did too. Junior blinked. Hi. Evan swallowed. Hi. Silence stretched, thick, fragile, electric, as father and son looked at each other for the very first time. Chapter 8.
Evan.
I had imagined this moment 100 different ways in the few hours since learning the truth. But nothing could have prepared me for standing in Lila's kitchen doorway, looking into the eyes of a boy who shared my face. Junior. My son. He blinked up at me with the same wide, curious eyes I used to see in the mirror as a kid. One brown. One blue. My breath caught. My heart stuttered in my chest. Hi, he said again, as if he too didn't know what else to say. I swallowed. Hard. Hi. Lila moved beside him, placing a gentle hand on his back. Junior, she said softly, this is Evan. Just Evan. Not yet your dad. Not yet anything. My name felt small. Inadequate. Like a placeholder for something massive that neither of us knew how to reach. Junior studied me with surprising calm. Are you Mum's friend? The question hit me square in the chest. A friend. God. If only it were that simple. I forced a small smile. Yes. Lila's breath hitched beside him. Barely audible, but I heard it. Felt it. Junior nodded seriously, accepting that answer without a blink. Okay. He walked over to the dining table and picked up the paper he'd been drawing on. Look, he said, holding it out with both hands. It's Danny Castle. It's my favorite place. My throat tightened. He didn't know what this meant to me, what he meant to me, and yet he was offering me something so innocent, so open. I stepped forward slowly. That's incredible, I said. You're really good. His whole face brightened. Mum says that too. I glanced at Lila. She looked like she was fighting tears, but she nodded, encouraging the moment. Do you want to see my other drawings? Junior asked, already rifling through his pile. A laugh escaped me, soft and disbelieving. Yeah, I'd like that. He spread them across the table. Castles. Boats. Sea creatures. A wobbly portrait of him and Lila. My chest loosened with every picture. 10 years of missed moments pressed against me, but for the first time since the reveal, it didn't crush me. It filled me. Like a space I hadn't realized was empty was finally being occupied. Junior looked up again. Did you draw when you were little? Yeah, I said, smiling faintly. But nowhere near as good as you. He grinned. My grin. And my heart nearly collapsed. Do you still draw? No, I hesitated. But I write. That's cool. Then, thoughtful, do you write about castles? I huffed a quiet laugh. Not yet. He nodded, satisfied. Kids were wonderfully straightforward. Lila's voice came softly. Junior, why don't you wash your hands? I'll bring out the snacks. Okay, he said, and darted off to the sink. As soon as he turned away, I let out a breath I'd been holding since I arrived. Lila stepped closer, her voice trembling. Are you okay? Okay. I murmured, stunned. Lila, he's perfect. Her eyes softened. Relief, fear, hope all tangled together. I didn't know how this would go, she whispered. Neither did I. But watching him grin over his drawings, hearing his little voice, seeing how gentle he was, how familiar, I don't deserve this, I said quietly. I don't deserve him. Her hand fluttered toward me, then fell. Evan, I want to be in his life, I said, my voice steady for the first time since the reveal. Whatever that looks like. However slow it takes. I just want to know him. She nodded, blinking fast. I know, she whispered. And I want that. For both of you. Junior turned back toward us, shaking his hands dry in the air. Are there snacks? He asked hopefully. Lila laughed. The first real laugh since I'd seen her. Yes, sweetheart, she said. Come sit. Junior slid into the chair beside me, natural and unbothered. He didn't know this was the biggest moment of my life. I had missed a decade of moments like this. He bit into a biscuit and said through a crumb-filled smile, Evan, do you like shortbread? Shortbread. The thing that started it all. The Christmas market. Lila stealing shortbread to give to me, her pigtails bouncing. Gran. Everything. I smiled softly. Yeah, I really do. He nudged a biscuit toward me. You can share mine if you want. Something inside my chest cracked wide open. But this time, it wasn't pain. It was hope. I reached for the biscuit with a shaking hand. Thanks, Junior. He grinned, wide and proud, completely unaware of how monumental this tiny offer was. I felt something settle inside me. Something like coming home. Chapter 9.
Lila.
If someone had told me a week ago that Evan Hart would be sitting at my kitchen table eating shortbread with my son, our son, I would have laughed in their face. And yet, here we were. Junior chatted between bites, showing Evan his newest drawings, explaining in vivid detail why Danube Castle was 1,000,000 times better than anything in London. Evan listened to every word like it was the most important conversation he would ever have. And maybe it was. My heart twisted, painfully and beautifully. After a while, Junior hopped off his chair to fetch something from his room. Evan and I stayed in the kitchen, wrapped in a silence that wasn't tense anymore. Just full. Full of things unsaid. Full of what-ifs. Full of hope and fear threaded tightly together. When Junior returned, he carried the Christmas catalogue that arrived yesterday. Mum, he said, plopping it onto the table, can we get a Christmas tree tomorrow? A big one. Since we're staying in Danube for Christmas. My heart stuttered. No resistance. No homesickness for London. Just pure, uncomplicated excitement. Yes, sweetie, I said softly. He nodded, flipping pages covered in trees and ornaments. Then casually, far too casually, he turned to Evan. Evan, will you come help us pick a tree? My breath caught. Evan froze for half a heartbeat, his gaze sliding to me in silent question. The boy had no idea what he'd just asked for. I swallowed and gave Evan a tiny nod. He cleared his throat. Yeah, Evan said gently. I'd really like that. If it's okay with your mum. Junior's grin exploded. Yes. My chest tightened. Tomorrow. Junior asked eagerly. Evan looked at me again. Gentle. Careful. Waiting for me to choose. Tomorrow, I whispered. Junior practically vibrated with joy. Evan left a few minutes later. At the door, he pulled out a small card and offered it quietly. In case you need anything. It sat on my tongue to say, I've managed fine for 10 years. But I bit it back. I took the card. Thank you, Evan murmured, low enough that Junior wouldn't hear. For what? I asked. For letting me meet him. For today. He hesitated. You have no idea what it meant. I did. I knew exactly what it meant. Tomorrow then, I whispered. His smile, soft, hopeful, a little broken, nearly unraveled me. Tomorrow, Evan said, and then he stepped into the snow and disappeared into the dusk. I closed the door and turned. Junior was standing in the hallway, arms crossed, eyebrows raised. Oh no. Mum. Yees? He pointed at his own face. Why do Evan and I have the same eyes? My stomach plummeted. He stepped closer. I've never met anyone with my eyes before. You said it was a rare condition. It is, I said quickly. Too quickly. Very rare. Very special. He narrowed his eyes suspiciously. He wasn't done. And, he tapped his chin like a tiny detective. Don't you think it's weird we have the same name? My heart stopped. Of course he'd notice. Junior noticed everything. I mean, he said, shrugging, I've never met another Evan. And then suddenly, boom. Here's one with my eyes. I swallowed hard. Junior, I crouched down, pushing a curl from his forehead. There are things, I said slowly, things I think you should know. Important things. And we'll talk about them. Just, not tonight. He frowned. Why not? You'll understand when we talk, I said gently. But for now, it's dinner time. Go and get ready. He groaned. Nope. I tapped his nose. Big day tomorrow. Christmas tree shopping, remember? His irritation vanished instantly. Oh yeah. He raced toward the kitchen, already shouting ideas about tree height and ornament colors. I sagged back against the wall, exhaling shakily. Tomorrow we'd get a Christmas tree. Tomorrow Junior and Evan would spend the day together. Tomorrow the truth would come out. And everything, absolutely everything, would change. I pulled Evan's card from my pocket, entered the number, saved it, and typed, "I think we have to tell him soon. He's already piecing things together." Then I hit send. And stood there, heart pounding, as the message whooshed away into the unknown. Chapter 10.
Evan.
By the time I left Lila's cottage, the sky had gone indigo, that deep quiet color that settles over Danube before the stars fully appear. Snow drifted in soft, steady flakes, landing on my hair, my shoulders, my jacket. I barely felt any of it. My mind was still back inside that warm kitchen. With her. With him. With us. Though I didn't dare let myself think that far. Junior. My son. I walked home slowly, each breath fogging in front of me, every step taken carefully on the treacherous snow. Christmas lights blinked along the village rooftops. Wreaths swayed gently in the cold breeze. But the world felt different. Tilted. Off-center. As if someone had bumped the universe and expected me to simply adjust. Meeting him had undone me. The boy had my eyes. My smile. My name. And yet he hadn't pulled back. Hadn't questioned my presence. Hadn't sensed that I was one breath away from collapsing. He'd asked me to help choose a Christmas tree. A Christmas tree. God. I stopped, bracing one hand against a stone wall as the enormity of it hit me again. I had missed a decade. 10 whole years I could never get back. But thank God I wouldn't miss any more. I could move to London. I could split my time. I could do whatever it took to be part of his life. My phone chimed. Lila. I think we have to tell him soon. He's already piecing things together. I exhaled. Long, slow. Unsteady. Things were escalating. When I reached my cottage, I didn't bother turning on the light. I walked straight to the sofa, sat heavily, and buried my face in my hands. A father. I was a father. And I hadn't known. Not for his birth. Not for his first step. Not for every night he needed comfort, every cold, every story before bed. I'd missed everything. A wave of grief rolled through me, thick and suffocating. I let it hit. Let it crush my ribs. Because I deserved it. But beneath the grief, braided through the pain, was something else. Hope. He wasn't lost to me. He wasn't hidden. He wasn't gone. He was here. In Danube. For Christmas. And tomorrow, I would see him again. Hours later, after pacing the living room until my legs ached, I ambled upstairs. Sleep found me just before dawn. Thin. Restless. Full of dreams I'd forgotten how to have. My body alarm pulled me from sleep. Same time as always. I stared at the ceiling until I couldn't stand it anymore, groaned, and dragged myself out of bed. I took the coastal path for my run. Old habits die hard. The air was cold and bracing, the perfect shock to my system. After my shower, I found myself reaching for a mug I hadn't touched in years, the one Gran had given me. It was written, "You're a rascal. Wouldn't change you." It felt right. Coffee warmed my palms, steadied my nerves, anchored me. Today, I was going tree shopping with my son. I still couldn't believe it. I didn't know the rules. What lines to cross. What lines to leave alone. I didn't want to push Lila. I didn't want to overwhelm Junior. But God, I wanted to be there. It was too early to leave, so I opened my laptop and tried to distract myself with work. Before I knew it, I had written several chapters. My muse, dormant for months, was back in full force. When the living room clock chimed 9, I shut the laptop reluctantly. Nothing was keeping me from that Christmas tree farm. I changed outfits twice, which was ridiculous. Then I stood in front of the mirror, practicing a smile that didn't look like I was going to faint. No luck. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The morning was bright, the winter sun that doesn't warm anything, but makes everything sparkle. Frost dusted the hedges like glitter. I walked to Lila's cottage slower than necessary, rehearsing greetings in my head. Morning. Ready for a tree. Too cheerful. Hey. I'm here. Too weird. Hi. Thanks again for letting me come. Too formal. God, I was hopeless. By the time I reached her gate, I abandoned the idea of sounding normal. My heart hammered as I lifted my hand to knock. Before I could, the door swung open. Junior stood there in a puffer jacket, hat crooked, scarf barely hanging on, eyes bright with excitement. "Evan," he yelled, beaming. Every fear loosened instantly. I smiled. Naturally, finally. "Hey buddy. Ready to find the perfect tree?" He nodded vigorously. "Mum says we're getting a really big one." "Oh yeah?" I asked. "How big?" He stretched his arms wide. "This big." "That might not fit through the door, champ." He paused, lowered his arms slightly. "Okay, maybe this big." I grinned. "That's more manageable." Behind him, Lila appeared. Coat zipped, curls tucked under her hat, cheeks tinged pink from the cold, or nerves, or both. Her eyes softened when they met mine. "Morning," she said quietly. "Morning," I echoed. And just like last night, something inside me settled. Lila drove. I took the passenger seat. Junior narrated from the back like an overexcited tour guide. Halfway through, Lila leaned toward me and whispered, "He once wrote an essay about trees." From the back seat, Junior announced, "And I got a gold star." Her laugh, warm and bright, hit me straight in the chest. I looked away before she caught me staring. The drive was only 10 minutes and they flew past. At the tree farm, Junior grabbed both our hands without hesitation. One of Lila's. One of mine. My breath caught. Lila stiffened beside me. Junior didn't notice. "Let's go find our tree." Our tree. I nearly choked. We trailed after him through rows of evergreens. He darted ahead, compared heights, and talked about branch fluffiness like it was a scientific trait. And every time he ran back to show me something in me, something raw and bruised, began to stitch itself back together. Not all at once. Not perfectly. But enough. 30 minutes later, he stopped in front of a tall, full pine. "This one," Junior declared. I nodded. "Strong branches. Great for ornaments." "It smells like Christmas," he added. Lila smiled softly. "It really does." Snow drifted around us as we stood there, the three of us, and for one impossible moment, we felt like a family. My throat tightened. I didn't dare speak. We paid for the tree and arranged delivery. On the walk back to the car, Junior tugged my sleeve. "Evan." "Yeah." His eyes, those mismatched, beautiful eyes, studied me. "Do you like staying in Danube?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I do." He nodded. Thinking. "Would you move, though? For a really good reason." I froze. Lila nearly tripped. I knelt so I was eye level with him. "For the right reason?" I said. "Yeah, buddy. I would move." He nodded again, satisfied, and hopped into the back seat like he hadn't just cracked the entire world open. Lila shut his door, then turned to me. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes wide, her breath caught somewhere between fear and something softer. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Everything was changing. I welcomed it. Chapter 11.
Lila.
The Christmas tree arrived just after lunch, a fresh pine taller than me by a good foot, full and bright and smelling exactly like childhood. Junior practically danced around the living room as the delivery men brought it inside. "This is the best tree ever," he declared. I laughed. "You said that last year." He placed his hands on his hips. "Well, Mum, this one is better." Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. And somehow, I already knew who it was. Evan stood on the doorstep, hat dusted with snow, breath fogging in the cold, cheeks flushed pink. For a moment, he looked exactly like the boy I used to love, the boy who kissed me under New Year's fireworks at 16, and my heart ached in a way I wasn't prepared for. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey," I managed. Junior shoved between us. "Evan, come see our tree." Evan stepped inside, smiling as he looked at the pine. "Wow. You picked a great one, buddy." Junior beamed and sprinted off to fetch Gran's lights and ornaments, the ones I'd brought down from the attic earlier. Which left me and Evan standing far too close in a room far too small, with 10 years' worth of unspoken feelings crackling between us. You didn't have to come help decorate, I said. I wanted to. His voice dropped to something warm and careful. If that's okay. My chest tightened. Yes, it's okay. We began with the lights. Junior insisted on testing them first, plugging them in, squinting dramatically and proclaiming, "They're perfect," even though half were dimmer than the others. Evan knelt beside him, inspecting each bulb with exaggerated seriousness. I agree. These lights are top tier. Junior puffed up like a proud, tiny foreman. And I watched them. Watched Evan gently guide Junior's hands as they wound the lights around branches. Watched him lift our son so he could reach the higher boughs. Watched the ease between them, the natural rhythm, the instant connection, and felt my throat ache. He was good with him. So good it hurt. Because this was how it should have been from the start. Heat pricked behind my eyes. I excused myself and fled to the kitchen to make hot chocolate. As I chopped the chocolate and measured the milk, my mind churned. Don't get swept up in the moment. This is the honeymoon period, the easy part. What happens when Evan has to discipline him? Correct him? Say no? My spoon clinked against the saucepan as I stirred. Another truth simmered beneath the first. My feelings for Evan hadn't faded. Not in 10 years. Not even a little. But I couldn't restart anything unless I knew, truly knew, that he wanted me for me. Not because we shared a child. Because whatever we did affected Junior, I had to be careful. I poured the hot chocolate into Christmas mugs, topped them with cream, marshmallows, and chocolate shavings, loaded a tray with shortbread, and carried it back to the living room. Junior whooped with joy. Evan looked at me cautiously, searching my face. Go wash your hands, Junior, I said gently. He raced off. Evan peered around the branches, eyes soft. You okay? I swallowed. Yeah. His gaze held mine, steady, warm, incredibly gentle. He's wonderful, Lila. My heart clenched. He is. You've done an amazing job. Truly. Emotion punched the air from my lungs. Compliments about my baking? Easy. Compliments about my parenting? Dangerous. Thank you, I whispered. The silence between us shimmered, delicate, warm, threaded with something impossible to ignore. Then Junior returned, and the spell broke. We decorated for almost an hour. Junior took his role very seriously. No, Mum, not there. Evan, that's perfect, do it again. Muum, the star goes on last. How do you not know this? I shot Evan an exasperated look. He smothered a laugh. And somewhere between the laughter and the lights, I felt myself relax, the tension that had locked me in for a decade lifting. That's when the accidental touches began. He handed me an ornament. Our fingers brushed. A spark shot through me. We both reached to steady a branch. Our hands collided. My breath hitched. Then I turned, and he stepped in at the same time. His chest brushed my shoulder. His breath warmed my cheek. Our faces were inches apart. I froze. So did he. His eyes flicked to my lips. Mine flicked to his. The room dimmed around us, fairy lights glowing softly. Lila, he whispered. The way he said my name. My knees almost buckled. I tilted my face up. Without meaning to, drawn to him by a pull older than time. He leaned in, slow, careful, giving me every chance to step away. I didn't. For one breathless, suspended heartbeat. We were going to kiss. Then, it's time for the star. Junior burst between us, holding the golden star like a trophy. We jumped apart like guilty teenagers. My cheeks burned. Evan cleared his throat loudly, refusing to look at me. Right, I said, far too brightly. The star. Junior climbed onto the sofa as Evan steadied him, placing the glowing star atop the tree. It's perfect, he declared. And it really was. The tree. The moment. The three of us standing side by side in the glow of fairy lights. Perfect, and terrifying. Because I could feel myself falling again. For the man I had never truly stopped loving. Chapter 12.
Lila.
All day, my stomach felt like it was filled with snow, cold, heavy, shifting every time I thought about the conversation looming tonight. Telling Junior. Telling my son who his father was. I chopped vegetables for dinner far too aggressively, reducing carrots and peppers to near pulp as if that might calm me. The cottage was warm and cozy, the Christmas tree lights glowing in the corner, cinnamon simmering on the stove. But underneath all of that, my nerves hummed like a plucked violin string. Junior sat at the table drawing what I assumed was meant to be a reindeer, though it looked slightly traumatized. He hummed happily, still buzzing from yesterday's tree adventure. That should have comforted me. It didn't. Every few minutes he'd glance up with an innocent little bomb. Do you think Evan will like this picture of Daniel Castle? Or, do you think Evan will teach me to ride a bike? Or the one that nearly broke me, do you think Evan will stay for Christmas? Each question burrowed deeper into my chest. He was already letting Evan in. Already attaching himself. And there was no undoing what came next. At 6:30, there was a knock. Soft. Careful. Familiar. My breath hitched. Junior shot upright. Evan's here. I wiped my hands on a towel, inhaled deeply, and opened the door. Evan stood there in a navy jumper and dark jeans, snow caught in his hair as if the weather had tried to decorate him. His eyes softened when he saw me. Hey. Hey, I breathed. His gaze flicked past me to where Junior waved enthusiastically. You ready? Evan asked quietly. And we both knew he wasn't talking about dinner. No. Not even close. But I nodded anyway. Come in. Dinner was, surprisingly lovely. Junior chattered nonstop, about school, London, sledging, our tree. The best tree ever in the history of trees. Evan listened like none of it was trivial. I watched them more than I ate. The way Evan leaned in when Junior spoke. The way he didn't interrupt him once. The way he smiled, soft, fond, almost reverent, as if these were moments he'd been starving for. I caught him glancing at the glowing tree more than once, like he couldn't believe it existed. This moment. This warmth. This unexpected little family. When Junior dropped a carrot on the floor, Evan simply bent down, picked it up, tossed it into the bin, and kept listening. Such a small gesture. Such a big ache. After dinner, Junior's eyes sparkled. Can we watch a Christmas movie? Please? Evan and I exchanged the look, the one we'd been avoiding all night. I cleared my throat. Actually, sweetheart, we need to talk first. Something important. Junior blinked. Am I in trouble? No, Evan said gently, sliding onto the sofa beside him. Definitely not. I sat on Junior's other side, heart pounding so loudly it blurred my vision. Junior watched us warily. You're both doing the serious face. He wasn't wrong. Sweetheart, I began softly, taking his hand. Remember, when you said it was strange that you and Evan had the same eyes. And the same name. Junior frowned. Yeah. It's weird. My throat tightened. Evan's voice came softly from the other side. Can I tell him? I nodded. I couldn't speak. Evan turned to our son, and exhaled. Junior, he said gently, you're a very smart boy. You notice things. And you were right to wonder. Junior sat up straighter, listening hard. We have the same eyes because, Evan swallowed, voice thick, because I'm your dad. Silence crashed over the room. Junior blinked up at him. Then at me. Mum. A tiny, trembling question. I nodded, tears welling. Yes, sweetheart. It's true. He looked down at his hands, overwhelmed. But Mum said my dad was doing important work in other countries. And that's why he wasn't here. Evan's eyebrows shot up. I winced. I knelt in front of Junior. Honey. I'm so sorry. I told you that because I didn't know where your dad was. I didn't want you to think he didn't care. By the time I had you, we'd lost touch. I had no way of telling him about you until now. Junior's chin wobbled. Evan knelt too, moving slowly, carefully. I didn't know about you, he said. Softly. If I had, I would have been here. Every day. Always. Junior's voice was tiny. You didn't know? No, Evan whispered, his voice breaking. Not until I saw your picture. And it was the best and hardest thing I've ever learned. Junior wiped at his eyes. I thought maybe my dad didn't want me. My heart shattered. Evan's face did too. "Oh buddy," he whispered, reaching out. "You are the best boy in the world. I'm so lucky to be your dad." Junior stared at him, long searching, and then slowly reached out, touching Evan's cheek with trembling fingers. "You're really my dad?" Evan nodded, eyes shining. "Yeah buddy. I really am." Junior swallowed, breath trembling. "Can I hug you?" Evan broke first. Then I did. Junior launched himself forward, wrapping his arms around Evan's neck. Evan held him like he was something priceless, something he'd been missing without knowing it. Junior buried his face in Evan's shoulder. Evan pressed his cheek to Junior's curls. And I pressed a hand over my mouth as tears spilled freely. The Christmas lights glowed warmly around us. Snow drifted past the windows, quiet and soft. And for that one perfect moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Chapter 13.
Evan.
Christmas Eve in Danny had always been beautiful. Glowing windows, drifting snow, the scent of pine and cinnamon everywhere. But this year, the world felt different. Brighter. Sharper. Full. Because for the first time in 10 years, I wasn't spending it alone. For the past 2 days, I'd barely gone an hour without seeing Junior, or Lila. We'd gone sledging down the little hill behind the castle. Junior had screamed the whole way down while Lila laughed so hard she cried. We'd gone Christmas shopping, Junior choosing gifts with the laser focus of a military strategist, and then ice skating in air, where Lila clung to the railings and called me a show-off for pretending I hadn't nearly fallen 3 times. We felt like a family. And every time Lila smiled, hope bloomed in my chest. But she was cautious. She had every right to be. And I couldn't let another Christmas Eve pass without telling her how I felt. I loved her. Still. Always. So tonight, I needed to show her. In the late afternoon, snow began falling again, soft, steady. I stood in my living room with an open box, staring at the contents one last time, making sure everything was exactly right. In all my years as a Marine, I had never felt fear like this. I was about to bare my heart to the woman who meant everything to me, the woman I loved, and the mother of my child. At 6 o'clock, I walked through the snow toward Lila's cottage, the small wrapped box tucked carefully under my arm. With every step, my pulse hammered harder. The lights inside glowed warm and golden. Through the window, I saw Junior and Lila dancing around the living room. I needed to be part of that. I crossed the path and knocked softly. When she opened the door, dressed in a soft red jumper, curls loose around her shoulders, she looked like every wish I'd ever had but never dared say aloud. "Hey," she said, slightly breathless. "You're early." "I know," I replied quietly. I needed to be. Her eyes softened, curious, warm. "Come in." Junior ran over immediately. "Evan. We made cookies. Mum let me lick the bowl." "I can tell," I said with a smile, gently wiping a smudge of dough from his cheek. "Hey buddy, can I borrow your mum for a few minutes?" Junior squinted, suspicious. "Are you gonna kiss?" Lila nearly choked. I let out a surprised laugh. "No," I said quickly. "I just want to talk to her." Junior shrugged. "You can kiss her if you want. I'll check if Santa emailed." And then he vanished. Lila exhaled, flustered. "Oh God." I smiled. "He's perceptive. That's one word for it." Her gaze dropped to the box in my hands. "What's that?" "This," I said gently, "is for you. But, could we step outside for a moment?" Snowflakes swirled around us as we stepped onto the front porch. The world felt hushed, like it was holding its breath. I set the box on the railing and turned to her. "Lila," I began, my voice unsteady, "I've been trying to find the right way to say this without overwhelming you. But I can't keep it in anymore." Her eyes widened slightly, guarded, hopeful. "I love you," I said softly. "I haven't stopped loving you since high school. Even when I thought I'd lost you forever, some part of me loved you anyway." Her breath caught. I opened the box. Inside were dozens of folded notes, some yellowed with age, some newer. She stared. "Evan, what is this?" "These are all the letters I wrote to you after that summer," I said slowly. "Every time I missed you. Every time I wanted to explain. Every time I thought about you but didn't know where to send the words." Her hand flew to her mouth. She lifted one of the pages, her name written in my old, uneven handwriting. I never stopped loving you, Lila, I continued. Not after 10 years. Not even when I thought you'd never want to see me again. These letters. I thought they might help you understand how long this has lived in me. Her eyes filled with tears. I wasn't finished. I pulled out the newest note, clean paper, written last night at 2 in the morning. This one, I said, holding it out, is from today. She took it with trembling fingers. I read aloud quietly, as snow fell around us. Lila, I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know what pace you'll need, or how long your heart will take to trust me again. But I know this, I want a life with you. Not because of Junior. Not because of guilt or obligation. But because loving you has always been the truest thing I've ever done. When I finished, she looked down, blinking as tears spilled free. Evan, she whispered. This is everything I wanted to hear when I was 18, and everything I told myself I never would. I stepped closer, slow, careful. I'm not asking for an answer tonight, I said gently. Just let me show you. Let me prove I'm here. Not running. Not disappearing. I lifted my hand and brushed a tear from her cheek. Because I love you. Still. Always. She leaned into my palm, breath trembling. Evan, she whispered, you're going to break me. I won't, I said softly. Not this time. She looked up at me, eyes shining, lips parted, heartbreak and hope colliding in her expression. And then, the door swung open. Mum. Evan. Are we drinking hot chocolate or what? One day, I would teach my son about timing. Lila laughed through tears, shaking her head. We should go inside before he explodes. I nodded, breathless. Yeah. But as we stepped back into the warmth of the cottage, she reached out, quietly, secretly, and slid her fingers into mine. My chest tightened. She didn't look at me. She didn't have to. It wasn't a full answer. Not yet. But it was enough. Enough for now. Chapter 14.
Lila.
Christmas morning, I don't think either of us realized how late it was by the time Junior finally fell asleep. We tucked him into Gran's guest bed with the kind of gentleness that felt almost sacred. He drifted off mid-sentence, one arm thrown over his pillow, curls everywhere, exhausted from Christmas Eve excitement. We closed his door quietly. And then we walked back down the hall together. The cottage was still and warm. The fire crackled low. Fairy lights blinked lazily on the tree. The scent of pine, cinnamon, and hot chocolate lingered in the air like a hug. Evan sat cross-legged on the floor beside me as we wrapped Junior's presents, badly in his case, and with my usual precision. He made me laugh. Real, unguarded laughs that tugged at memories I'd locked away. Halfway through his fourth present, he held up his wrapping paper with a defeated sigh. This is impossible. I'm a grown man. I was in the Marines. Why does wrapping paper defeat me? I snorted. Because you use half a roll for one toy car. He tossed a balled-up ribbon at me. Critical feedback noted. God help me. I loved this man. I always had. When all the gifts were arranged under the tree, we stayed sitting on the rug. Our shoulders brushed occasionally. Neither of us moved away. Evan stared at the fairy lights for a long moment before speaking. Lila, I need you to know something. My heart thudded. I'm willing to move, he said. To London. To be closer to Junior. And to you. Whatever makes things easier, I'll do it. I froze. He meant it. It was in his voice, steady and sure. In his eyes, full of determination, fear, and hope. For 10 years, I had done everything alone. And here he was, offering to rearrange his entire life for us. But, I shook my head gently. Evan, I'm not going back to London. His eyebrows shot up. You're not. A small smile tugged at my lips. No. I'm staying here. In Danube. He blinked slowly, like his brain was rebooting. You're staying. I should have seen it sooner, I murmured. Coming home. Being in this house. Working Gran's stall again. Watching Junior run around the beach like he's lived here forever. Emotion tightened my throat. My life in London was never really my life. It was survival. Work. Routine. I looked directly into his mismatched eyes, the same ones Junior carries. But here, this feels like living again. He breathed out, stunned. Lila. And there's more, I said quietly. He leaned in, fully focused. I talked to my manager this morning. She's been running the bakery while I was away. Being here made everything clear. I'm selling it. And she is willing to buy it. His inhale was sharp. I want a simpler life, I continued. A home. A fresh start. And Gran's cottage is perfect. I want to turn it into a little B&B. Something cozy. Something that feels like her. His lips parted, eyes warming with something dangerously close to wonder. Lila, I want to build a life here, I finished. For me. For Junior. I took a breath. For us. His eyes softened into something reverent. Do you mean that? He asked. I nodded. He exhaled shakily, like the breath had been trapped in him for a decade. That makes me very happy, but honestly wherever you and Junior are will be home for me. My heart flipped. Evan, I've wanted you here with me, with us, longer than I ever admitted to myself. Silence settled around us, warm and charged, glowing like fairy lights. We sat together on the rug, fire warm on our cheeks, the Christmas tree glowing beside us. Evan reached for me slowly, carefully, giving me every chance to move away. I didn't. I leaned into his touch. His fingers brushed my jaw, then my cheek, then tucked a curl behind my ear. Soft. Reverent. Like he was memorizing me all over again. Lila, he said quietly. I love you. A tear slipped down my cheek. I love you too, I whispered. I think I never stopped. His hand cupped my face. Mine slid to his chest. And in the quiet glow of Christmas morning, he kissed me. Slowly. Tenderly. Deeply. A promise. A beginning. A homecoming. Our first kiss in 10 years. And the first kiss of the rest of our lives. I think Gran was onto something. Chapter 15. Junior Christmas morning. I woke up really, really early. Like before the sun early. I tried closing my eyes again, but my tummy was doing that excited, flippy thing it does when something amazing is about to happen. So I sat up, looked around my room, and whispered to myself, it's Christmas. I jumped out of bed and tiptoed down the hallway, because Mum always says if I run, I'll slip and crack my skull open, but she says it in a funny voice, so I know she doesn't actually mean it. The house felt different today. Warm. Sparkly. Magical. I padded downstairs in my fluffy socks, the ones Gran gave me last Christmas, and when I reached the bottom step, I froze. Someone was sleeping on the sofa. Evan. He was curled under a blanket, one arm behind his head, one foot sticking out because he's too tall. His hair was all messy, and he was making a tiny snoring sound. I stared at him for a long minute. He stayed. I'd whispered my Christmas wish to Santa, the real one, that Mum would be properly happy. Not busy happy. Not pretend happy. Real happy. And last night, she'd looked that way. That must have been Santa. He's magic after all. I crept closer. Evan shifted a little, then blinked awake. His eyes, one brown, one blue, my eyes, met mine. Oh hey champ, he said, his voice sleepy and gravelly. Merry Christmas. And then, I don't know why I said it. I didn't even think about saying it. It just came out, like my mouth got there before my brain. Merry Christmas, Dad. He froze. Like really froze. Like statue frozen. Like someone pressed pause on him. His mouth opened a tiny bit. His eyes got shiny, like he might actually cry, which made my chest feel all wobbly. Say that again, he whispered. I shrugged, suddenly shy but also not. Dad. He sat up so fast the blanket fell on the floor. Junior, he breathed. Do you mean that? I nodded. Yeah. Because you're my dad, right? He didn't answer with words. He just reached out and pulled me into the biggest, warmest hug. Not too tight. Not squishy. Not awkward. Just right. Perfect right. And I hugged him back because I wanted to. Because it felt good. Because it felt right. Because he stayed. When he let go, He wiped his face really fast, like he thought I didn't see. But obviously, I did. Are you crying? I asked. Nope, he sniffed. Allergies. I raised an eyebrow. In winter. He laughed, a big proper belly laugh I already loved. Okay, he said. Maybe just a little. Just then, Mum walked into the room, wearing her cozy robe, her hair all sleep fluffy like a Christmas angel. When she looked at us, her whole face softened. Merry Christmas, she said quietly. Merry Christmas. I yelled, running to her. She hugged me tight and kissed my forehead, then looked over the top of my head at Evan. Something warm and melty passed between them. Like in a Christmas movie. Like the part right before the kiss. Guess what I called Evan? I announced loudly, because important things should always be loud. Her eyes widened. What? I called him Dad. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes sparkled like someone switched on extra fairy lights inside them. Evan stood up, scratching the back of his neck, looking all shy. Ah yeah. That happened. Mum blinked quickly. Oh Junior, what? I said. That's who he is. She looked like she might happy cry. Not sad cry. And then, present time. We all sat by the Christmas tree, Mum on one side, Dad on the other, me in the middle like a Christmas sandwich. I unwrapped presents fast, because that's the proper way, obviously. There were epic Lego sets, a book about castles, a new scarf, and the coolest snow globe with Danube castle inside. This is the best Christmas ever. I shouted. Dad smiled. Mum smiled. They looked at each other like they were sharing a secret. I didn't mind. Because I think I already knew. The secret. We were a family now. A real one. And that was the best present Santa ever brought me.
Author's note: Danube is a beautiful, real place on the Scottish coast, but the Danube in this story is very much my own, shaped by imagination, heart, and a touch of Christmas magic. The cottages, markets, characters, and events are fictional and are not meant to depict the real village or the wonderful people who live there.
The end. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe for more love stories, and see you next week for a new one.